Hi everybody, welcome to another bite-sized educational as part of the summer love season. And I've got my wonderful colleague and friend Pennie Clayton with me. Hi Pennie.
Hello, nice to talk to everybody today.
Yeah, well, it's great. We've had discussions before on longer form content, and you're going to be coming to join us in the emotional wellbeing in animals group in the near future, where we can have a bit more time with you, because there's a lot that I really think will be valuable for you to share. But today we're going to focus in on horses, and we're going to think about something that's really important actually, which is when people might get a new horse, or they're introducing a new horse to their lives and their routines. And it's a really important aspect for that, both for the human, but also for the horse, of course, and about what they have to process and deal with, and the adaptations they have to make as they come into their new environment.
Yes. So I've just got very quickly. I wrote a few points down, and they cover pretty much any horse at any point in their lives. People often don't really think about these when they go to look at horses and pick new horses up. The first one, that's probably the most important one. I'm looking over here because my notes are here, is that horses get passed on all the time. So through no fault of their own often, and people buy horses to sell. So obviously they're not going to be in one place for any length of time. And it's very normalized. So people don't think anything about how long a horse has been in a particular place, apart from to be a little bit suspicious that maybe the horse has only been in one place for 6 months, and then they'll think, why is that? But it may just be that the person that has the horse now has just bought it to sell on, or him or her to sell on. And that comes with all sorts of problems. So, they go through the process of looking at the horse and riding the horse and having the horse vetted and arranging for the horse to be taken to the new yard. But that could have happened to a horse multiple times in their lives. So they've got no idea where they're going or what's happening. And any problems that horse has with a particular person obviously get taken to the new person. So the biggest problem that I see often is that horses are rarely given time to settle into their new homes. And how long that period can be very rarely as short as anybody thinks it is. So it can be, I have often advised people in the past to keep a diary. So if they keep a diary for a year, because the horses go through specific things at specific times. So there's no grass, and then suddenly there's grass, and they get sick, and their behaviour might change when the grass changes, or when their coats change, which is very, very normal. And then they'll say, well, I don't understand why the horse is behaving like this. And then if they've got a diary, then they can look back at what happened this time last year. So that time that they give them to settle is very rarely any longer than about a month. It's unusual for people to bring a horse into a yard and just turn the horse out for a month. There are problems. We all know there are problems about fields and horses that don't get on with other horses. Often horses don't get turned out because people think they're going to injure themselves. So you've got all this background buzz going on, and probably if you could talk to a horse, they'd say, just let me out, I just want to have a little stroll around. And it depends on the horse, and if horses have been moved, the more they're moved, the more likely it is for them to feel really ill at ease. They're not going to feel particularly great about another move. We certainly wouldn't, would we? If somebody came along and said, oh, come and live with me, like, okay, do I want to go and live with you? Maybe I don't. So all of these things can or do create problems. So how long it would take would depend on the horse.
I think
Go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think listening to you talking about horses, it's no different to how we think about dogs coming into our lives or any animal.
No.
Giving a bit of time to consider how new everything must be for that animal and their past experiences that we may or may not know much about. And the one thing we know is that the most important thing is this putting safety, emotional, social, physical safety at the front of everything, and to allow that time. And I think the diary idea is a great idea. I think that's a really good idea, especially for people to journal their progress in their relationship and their understanding of that animal and that animal's care and support needs. And I'm guessing what you're saying is that if we do that, we're less likely to have some of the behavioural challenges and the resistance.
I think it's a good to have something to look back onto, because if something happened in August next year and you have just, the horse has gone into a new home, it makes more sense. And this was a long time ago when I first used to work with horses. Somebody I taught at the time had a saying that she used to be told when she was young, which was like, never buy a horse at blackberry time, because their coats are changing already. They're already beginning to pick up on the change in the seasons. So even now they start to grow longer coats. So that, without doubt, will create behaviour changes. So if you know that starts early in August or halfway through August or into September, then it's easy to look back and think, oh, okay, that's okay. This is what happened last year.
Yep.
So go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say, yeah, please go on with your list of kind of tips for the new horses.
One of the things that people rarely do is they rarely take their horse out and about in hand to forage. It's got a very bad name for itself for some reason. People think it's a bit of a wussy thing to do, that you put a head collar on your horse and you lead them around about, if it's safe enough to take them around for a forage, on forage walks, so they get to know the area. They can start to acclimatise to the different places that perhaps they'll be ridden later on, and to let the horse just forage. It's really important. And obviously this time of year, there's quite a lot of things for them to forage on. And it just helps them to get used to the environment, and it helps the new person. It really helps them to adjust to the kind of things the horse is a bit worried about and a bit anxious. So you haven't got that situation where they're sitting on their backs and calling them stupid and stubborn because they won't go forward down a specific part of the lane where it changes from light to dark. There's far more choice really when they're standing with the horse in hand than there would be if you were sitting on top, because people immediately have that flash point where they think the horse is dangerous. It's going to gallop home with me. The horse is going to rear. I bought a horse and now this is all very unpredictable. The thing about walking in hand is you can do 2 minutes, or you can do 5 minutes, or you can do 20 minutes. You can just wander and the horse can get to know the environment, get to know you, and vice versa.
Right. I think it's really important. And this is, of course, I think why emotional well-being really does matter, in these things. I think we've recognized how physical well-being is important, I think, more, but the individual emotional experience, if you like, of the animal, by understanding that, by thinking about some of these things that you've talked about, and by recognizing the transitional stress for the animal that comes with these things, when we understand this a bit more, it really does help us navigate some of the perceived challenges. This is where, of course, Pet Remedy helps as a product, because it can be very useful as part of the transitional side of things. If there's a couple of things you'd really want to leave people with, that whether it's a practical tip or whether it's a mindset shift thought, what would you share, Penny, before we finish off?
I think that people have to not jump to conclusions too quickly. It's very easy, horse people in particular, because they're on yards, because there's people buzzing about all the time, they're given lots of advice, whether they want it or not. You should do this with the horse. You should do that with the horse. You should do that with the horse. He shouldn't be doing that. They're marish. I mean, you know, it's a barrage of information. People are coming along and saying, "Oh, I'll help you," without even, this is a biggie. They'll try and help without being asked for help. So that point for anybody that's just taken on a new horse is really, really hard. They may have a plan in their mind. They may want to do things very slowly. They will get advice whether they ask for it or not. Then there's that peer pressure. The peer pressure can be really hard, really, really hard, particularly if, as often happens, people haven't had a horse for a while. They've bought the new horse, they've gone to a new yard. Suddenly there's competing advice about how to do this, what not to do, what to do. And I think it's important for people to feel that it's okay. They don't have to do things that everybody tells them to do. They can take things in their own time. They don't have to take advice that they didn't ask for.
I think that's really powerful because, you know, advocacy, even self-advocacy actually can be difficult times, and especially for our animals. And that's what we're trying to promote really through these series of conversations and some of the things we'll be looking at in the emotional wellbeing in animals group, because a lot of the time it comes just down to a lack of awareness. People are just unaware of the lived emotional experience of another living sentient being. And that's what we're thinking now, and behavioral science is supporting this. You know, that horse in front of you will have a lived emotional, physical and social experience. And that is an important consideration that we have to take on board when we're involved in their lives. So thank you for that today, Pennie. That's been amazing, really, really helpful. And also, just so people know, Pennie, your own educational platform deals with not just horses but dogs as well, and you've got an excellent book which I highly recommend, A Dog for All Seasons, which you can get on all the book buying platforms. How can people find out more about what the work you do, Pennie?
I've got 2 Facebook groups. One's called Equine Connections, which is my horse group, and the dog group is called Enhancing the Life of Your Hound, and my own website is horseandhoundschool.co.uk.
Brilliant. Thank you, Pennie, and thank you everybody for watching another Bite-Sized Educational as part of the Summer of Love, and look out for some more on the platform. Thank you, Pennie.